So guys, the moment mandatory minicamp wrapped up, everybody went straight for Jalen Hurts. The media was picking apart his throws. The fan base was debating the locker room energy, drama after drama. But while everyone was distracted, Howie Roseman had his eyes locked on something else entirely. He was watching the roster, studying the gaps, identifying exactly where this team needed to get better. And the moment minicamp gave him those answers, he didn't wait. He went out and signed 2 players immediately. And this move showed that how much serious this front office is to bring another championship to this city. What's up, Birds Gang? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Eagles. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now let's start with the edge rusher. The Eagles have officially signed Epenesa to a 1-year deal. Now some of you might know the name, some of you might not, but let me tell you exactly who this guy is, because the story behind him is something else entirely. Epenesa grew up in Illinois and played high school basketball. And I'm not talking about a guy who just played basketball on the side. This was a legitimate elite athlete, catching alley-oops, rising up for dunks, doing things that most kids his size could never dream of doing. You watch that footage and you immediately understand why Iowa came calling, because athleticism like that doesn't just disappear when you put on a football helmet. At Iowa, under Kirk Ferentz, Epenesa became a different kind of problem entirely. He tied for 4th on Iowa's all-time career sacks list. His junior year alone, he put up 11.5 sacks and forced 4 fumbles before deciding he was ready for the next level. That is not a guy who snuck into the draft. That is a guy who earned every single bit of attention he got coming out of college. And here's where the story gets really interesting. The 2020 NFL Draft. The Eagles are on the clock at pick 53, and they take Jalen Hurts. Now remember, this was the draft where Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman had a rule. Never get complacent. Never assume a player is going to fall to you, because years before, they passed on Russell Wilson thinking he would still be there. And he wasn't. So they took Hurts at 53, and with the very next pick, number 54, the Buffalo Bills took Epenesa. 1 pick apart, the same draft, and now 5 years later, both of those players end up in Philadelphia. You honestly cannot make that up. But here's what I keep coming back to. The road that brought Epenesa to Philadelphia was not a smooth one.
Earlier this offseason, Epenesa agreed to a 1-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Cleveland Browns, and then the Browns backed out. They pulled the plug after he failed his medical evaluation due to knee concerns. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that's not a red flag worth mentioning. It is. At 260 pounds playing physical football every single week, the body takes damage. That is real. But here is the thing people are missing. NFL medical evaluations are opinions. They are not facts. Every single medical staff in this league looks at the same knee and comes to a different conclusion. You see this happen every offseason. A player fails a physical with one team and then passes with another team the very next week. The Eagles medical staff looked at Epenesa, evaluated his knee, and cleared him to play. That tells you everything you need to know about how this organization sees him. Now, the question is what he actually brings to this defense, because the numbers are serious. 24 career sacks, 29 tackles for loss, 53 quarterback hits, and from 2022 to 2024, he put up back-to-back 6.5 sack seasons. That is elite-level consistency for a rotational edge rusher. That is not a guy just taking up space on the roster. But, that's not even the most unique part of his game. Epenesa has 21 career pass breakups and 4 interceptions as an edge rusher. 21 pass breakups for a 260-pound defensive end. That number is almost unheard of at his position. It means he is not just rushing the passer, he is disrupting throwing lanes. He is dominating the flat. He is making quarterbacks uncomfortable in ways that most edge rushers simply cannot do. And in Vic Fangio's defense, that kind of versatility is exactly what you need. With those 34-inch arms, he can shed blocks, set the edge against the run, and still threaten as a pass rusher on 3rd down. He fits this scheme. He fits this defense. And honestly, he fits this city because Philadelphia respects physical football players. Now, let me show you exactly where he fits on this roster. The locks at edge rusher right now are our newly acquired star Jonathan Greenard, whom Howie Roseman traded for during the 2026 draft and immediately handed a massive $100 million extension, alongside Nolan Smith, Arnold Ebiketie, and Jalix Hunt. Those four are making this team. That is not a debate. But after those four, things get real interesting. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is here pushing for a spot in training camp, and Howie Roseman wanted maximum competition. So when Epenesa's $5 million deal with Cleveland fell through over a failed physical, Howie didn't hesitate. He saw a proven rotational weapon sitting on the open market and snatched him up to push this depth chart to the absolute limit. And then you look at the rest of the room. 7th-round pick Keyshawn James Newby is still learning the game at this level. International pathway player Joshua Wero is a project. Neither of those guys is ready to contribute meaningful snaps in a real NFL game right now. That is just the honest truth, which means Epenesa has a very real path to a heavy rotational role on this defense.
And there is one more piece to this story. The Eagles officially released Za'Darius Smith from the reserve retired list. Za'Darius is a 3-time Pro Bowl edge rusher who played 5 games for the Eagles last season, had some big moments including sacks against Kansas City, and then suddenly stepped away from the game in October. He's 34 years old now. Releasing him from that list gives him the freedom to sign with another team if he wants to make a comeback. But what it also does is officially close that chapter in Philadelphia. Epenesa is the veteran presence this defense needed to replace that void, and he earned it. Now, let me talk about the second signing that is just as important and for a completely different reason. Howie Roseman did not just stop at defense. He went out and signed Michael Jordan. We are talking about an experienced veteran guard entering his 8th NFL season with 78 games of experience and 49 career starts under his belt. He has battled in the trenches for the Bengals, Panthers, Patriots, and most recently the Buccaneers. Michael Jordan was a 4th-round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals out of Ohio State back in 2019. And yes, some of you might remember a very painful play from the 2020 season where he got bulldozed by Jonathan Allen, which led directly to Joe Burrow tearing up his knee. That moment followed him for years. But here is what also followed him: experience, resilience, and a very specific knowledge base that makes him perfect for what the Eagles are building right now. And here's exactly why this signing makes so much sense. Because last season, Michael Jordan started 9 games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers under offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard, the same Josh Grizzard who is now the Eagles' passing game coordinator. Now, Sean Mannion is installing a completely new blocking scheme in Philadelphia, and Michael Jordan already played 718 snaps in this exact system last year. He knows the calls, he knows the assignments. That kind of familiarity you simply cannot teach a rookie in one training camp, and that is exactly why the depth behind him matters so much right now. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend the Eagles' interior offensive line depth has been perfect this spring. It has not been. The second-string unit at minicamp had Markel Bell at left tackle, Miles Hinton at left guard, Jake Majors at center, John Ojukwu at right guard, and Fred Johnson at right tackle. That is not an awful group, but it is a group with real questions around it. And Drew Kendall, Cameron Williams, Miles Hinton, these are all guys still developing under a brand new coaching staff. That is exactly the gap Michael Jordan fills. Now, every move has a cost, and these two were no different. To make room for Epenesa and Michael Jordan, the Eagles waived linebackers Chandler Martin and Isaiah King. That is the business side of this league. Hard decisions get made every single day, but when you're clearing space to bring in trench depth with this kind of profile, that is a trade you make every single time.
So training camp opens at the end of July. And when these guys step on that field in front of Eagles Nation for the first time, I want you to remember this moment, because this is what separates organizations that talk about championships from organizations that actually go get them.